Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, baby. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm a politician now, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm making friends in Virginia.
Is he?
Oh, well, he's got a lot of them. He's actually got the majority of them.
Right.
Because the day 2 of Trouble in Tedland involved the House there pushing something through.
Yeah.
So it's now sitting at the doorstep of the senators who yesterday and today reiterated, give us what we want or we will not put this through.
Yes.
So now, after hearing that, which is it's the stick-up of stick-ups, dear Glenn and Ted, what are you going to do for me in my part of the state?
Right. Yeah.
So that's where we are now. So this isn't as torpedoed as I thought it was. Yesterday, it was pretty torpedoed. Now, I don't know, actually. I think they were pretty – this was not veiled. One of the senators basically said, what are you going to do for me? So we're in negotiating point now. So maybe Monumental was right yesterday. It's just part of politics, and they've got to shake some hands and make
Tom
some
Wilson needs to show up in Richmond, apparently? Is that what's going to happen?
some kind of
Richmond Caps?
Capitals bar in Portsmouth needs to show up now. I don't know. Tell me. I mean, I think it's preposterous to believe he's not getting a casino of some sort in this thing.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, that hasn't been mentioned, but yeah, that would make sense.
Okay.
Because he's already got one here.
What other part of the state is going to force the governor to agree or everybody to agree this is where this needs to go? That'd be my guess. What's the give back here?
What's the deal with the Commanders, though? Don't they have the exclusive sports team deal or something, or are they just the first one?
They do if they remain in the state of Virginia.
Ah, okay. Well, that remains contingent on a few things.
That's a underrated part of the Commanders' move part is that FanDuel thing. The exclusivity of that does involve them having a literal home in the state of Virginia, which they do, which is their training facility.
Right.
So just keep that in mind as we go through all of this process of trying to figure out where they're going to go. Are they really ever going to move out of the state of Virginia? If they put the stadium at RFK, will they just build a new facility out in Virginia? Probably.
Yeah, I mean,
probably.
You also have to weigh how much that land is worth, too. It could be worth.
I think they're going to sell that land in Ashburn and they're going to build something new. And the question is where?
Yeah.
Will that be in Virginia? Will that be connected to a stadium? Will it not? Are they going to go?
As I've said,
if the stadium goes to RFK, that's a big if. If that happens, that's not where the training facility is going to be. There's not enough room for that.
Yeah,
so I think they're going to build their version of the Star somewhere, and that will either be Maryland or Virginia. But considering what the situation is with the gambling in Virginia, it would lead me to believe it will take place in Virginia too. That's what I would think.
I know we're talking Monumental, but I would say, too, that sports book out at FedEx Field doesn't get much traction because there's nothing else out there. They could weigh on that and say, we could build around that now to be the new facility, and all of a sudden that's a different
That's very possible, too.
Yeah.
Very possible that they end up turning FedEx Field into Commanderland.
Right, exactly.
Very possible. So that could all happen, too.
Joshland.
It's now Joshland. Magic Land.
Oh, like that.
Magic Land.
Magic City.
Magic City.
No, I can't do that. That's taken.
Magic City, Maryland? That's pretty good. I'd go there.
Magic City Landover has a great ring to it.
I can't say this one off air. I want to. What Smoot wants to do with FedEx Field.
I don't even want to know.
It's not as bad as you might think.
Well,
it was a very funny joke.
Smoot's been involved with some things in the past.
I'm going to make some hats out of it. It was so funny what he wanted to do out there. I'll get you one. I'll make sure I get you one.
Good.
It'll be a gold hat with burgundy lettering.
Oh,
and then you'll understand what he wants to do.
Okay.
I shouldn't even have said it. By the way, 3:20, I'm going to play an interview I had with Chris Paul, the Commander's guard, who I actually met up with in Vegas, and you're going to be surprised what we are talking about because of what. If you watch the NFL Honors, you'll know what we're talking about, and if you didn't, I won't spoil it because he was part of something that it will surprise you a little bit. So, and he talked about his musical career, so we'll talk about that a little bit. Anyway, all right, back to Monumental. So I'm going to get to Bowser's letter in a bit too, but. My reading today off of the howitzer that was fired at Ted and Glenn Youngkin yesterday. And oh, by the way, I love that someone dubbed it the Glen Dome, by the way. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. Since we're all into nicknames now.
Like Glendome or Glendom, like Kingdom.
I think it was the Glendome. I think is what it was. But it could be the Glendome. That's possible too. Or you could have gone either way. Possibility. Somebody called it the Glendome.
The Glendome and the Ted Dome.
When did this whole political nickname stuff has really taken off? Since Trump? It started with Obamacare, became healthcare, became Obamacare.
Yeah, right.
It's going to, we made it easier for you to access healthcare, so we're going to call it something we don't like.
Right.
Okay, so that started. Then Trump, of course, has a nickname for literally everything. And so now that was a good one. You got to come up with a name for something. The Glendome. So we got the Glendome now out at Potomac Yards. Yesterday felt like we had Eric Flack on. If you missed it, you should listen to the podcast because he was great on what's going on, like, and what all this is. But he actually said in the middle of the interview that he goes, I don't think any of this is dead. I just think that the governor did not talk to the new appointees of the Democratic-led Senate and did not negotiate with them, and for some reason assumed that they were just going to do his bidding and do this because this quote-unquote is, quote, good for Virginia. And that's not the way it works, whether it is or it isn't.
That's right.
So they want their pound of flesh. And today was the House just pushed it through anyway. And the Senate's sitting there, and a couple prominent people are saying the vote is no until we have a talk with you about what we want.
Right.
So I don't know what that is, and we're going to have to find out. But Ted's about to buy something somewhere in rural Virginia.
Tedland.
Tedland. That's fine.
You can sit in Ovechkin's office, whatever that is.
It's a giant carousel, and you can ride.
It's King's Dominion. There's going to rebrand King's Dominion.
Tedland. Oh.
Ted's Dominion.
Ooh, Ted's Dominion. What goes on at Ted's Dominion? Oh, boy. There's definitely like the basketball shooting game where you can get the giant stuffed animals, but no one makes it ever. Ever.
Andre Bloch actually works there.
Tedland. Ted's Dominion would be pretty good.
There's a roller coaster. It's called The Office, and it just shoots you off.
Oh,
really
I like
fast.
that. That's right.
Yeah. But it gets slower every year.
You could get a shirt that says, I'm not going to be the suck this summer.
With the year on it?
Yeah.
It has to be very specific.
That's right. Very, very, very specific.
That's right.
Ooh, Russian machine never breaks roller coaster.
I don't think you can do Russian anything in Virginia.
No, not right now.
I think that climate is a little too much.
I don't know. The guy running for president seems to like him, so I don't know. Maybe.
Apparently, we've all buddied up to that.
Call me in November. Maybe. We may all change our minds about that, won't we, guys? Oh, man. What's the Gilbert ride? Mr. Gilbert's Wild Ride?
Mr. Gilbert's.
Mr. Gilbert's Wild
Ride. Want to do a
Ride.
shooting gallery?
Oh, that would be a good one. Mm-hmm.
There's 3 guns laid out. You get to pick one.
Andre Bloch has his own land out there, actually.
Oh,
a lot of things could happen
God.
there. Yeah, a lot of
Don't
things.
want that.
Nobody wants that.
You can chug beers at TJ Oshie's bar.
Buck and Phil's dagger throw.
That's a good one, actually.
That is a good one. Lots of daggers. Mm-hmm. We'll think about it. I'm sure we'll come up with more through the day. Anyway.
There's Brad's restaurant. You have to pay.
Everybody likes Brad's restaurant.
Where you pay a crap ton of money for a very mediocre meal.
That's right. Right. It's $78 for a hamburger.
Right.
It's fine. It's good. It's not bad.
There's
Everybody
one
likes
guy
it. You're not complaining. You're not sending it back. It's fine.
And all the waiters are wearing John Wall jerseys telling you how much of an idiot you are.
Yeah. Ooh, wolf season.
Yeah, wolf season.
Wolf season in the fall at Ted's Dominion. Wolf season. Oh, man.
Could be a boxing game with Tom Wilson, something like that.
I want a dunking booth with Glenn Consor in it. Be a good one.
It's not bad.
Not bad. Yeah. Not bad.
When you hit the bullseye, it's Dave Johnson going, it's there.
Yeah. Radio party.
Yeah.
You have the radio party at Ted's Dominion.
Yeah, you could definitely have a radio party.
I'd go to the radio party.
That's the sound stage. It's called the radio party.
I might get invited to show up and be a special guest one day.
There you go.
Could be. I have a Zach joke. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. I can't unveil my nickname for him here because if I do it, I think it'll catch on, actually.
No, don't.
And then they'll hate me.
Let's not.
They'll hate me, and they have powerful friends these days.
That's correct, yeah. Some of us work close with the team.
I'm following you on Twitter now, aren't I?
That's what happens.
Say something else, dummy. I'll tell all my friends about it. Anyway, my read on it is now having seen the stick up, Eric Flack was right.
Yep.
This isn't dead. It is a negotiation now.
Right.
What are we going to get? You refused to bring us to the table. That was your mistake. We can hold this up. The vote's no until I hear otherwise. Sweeten the pot. It's what it is. It's sweeten the pot. And so I think I'm back on the fast track of he will, because they can stop this from happening, but they don't want to. They just want to go back to their constituents and say they got this out of the whole thing. And I don't know what this is, but there's going to be a sweet in the pot.
I do think as well, though, they did say the first thing of like benefiting the community outside of that was figure out the traffic and transportation, though. And
sure.
That has been
the real problem.
That has been a clear nip and tuck situation where
I think somebody wants Ted's Dominion too,
well,
but sure.
But I do think, though, they're going, there's some logistics here that you guys don't even have figured out. That is like the major hurdle here. That's why I keep saying to you, I can't believe they've just kind of like put their head down and thought they would just be able to move forward without having a set metro plan, a set parking plan, saying you're going to take shuttles from the other metro stations to get in there. Like, I'm just saying, I think even they're like, they're doing the guys, you're trying to ram this through, but you don't even have the basics laid out that you need to have in this area.
I actually don't even think it's that. I think it's these people in their constituencies in their part of Virginia want something to vote yes. It's a stick-up.
I mean,
that's what I think it is.
Be.
I mean, I'd like to believe it's that. That's what it should be about, but
Right.
It's not going to be about that. The people who are holding this up aren't even in Alexandria. They're the people in other places that go, we don't have to say yes to this.
Right. Correct.
We could say, we're giving you $1.5 billion, and guess what? Our constituents will be happy when we tell you no.
Yeah.
So give us a reason to tell you yes.
Right.
And so I don't know what that is. I don't know what they want. I'm going with it's a sweet in the pot situation. They want something. What is that? I don't know till they say it.
Right.
Ted knows in the background.
It's all going to cost money. I mean, that's really what it all is.
I'm selling my beer at Ted's Dominion, Joe.
Craig's beer stand does have a good.
Oh, yeah.
Craig's Beer Locker.
Yeah. Craig's Beer Locker. And as a snack, you get biscuits in a basket, Joe.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that, actually.
Craig's biscuits in a basket, Joe. What's Joe get? Joe's
got a wine stand somewhere. That's actually that he will actually be there.
But nobody goes to it.
No. So
who drinks fine wine at Ted's Dominion and then gets on the Rebel Yell?
When you get to talk with Joe about wine, I think a lot of people actually do.
Yes.
I think you're wrong. I think you're totally wrong on that. Actually,
Joe's suit tailoring and fine wines.
Yeah, I think there's a market there.
Maybe. Not when I get off Splash Mountain. I don't think I'm going over there to that.
That's Disney, man. Come
Whatever.
on, that's not there.
There's got to be some water ride at Ted's Dominion.
What's the log flume called down there?
Yeah,
I
flume.
don't know what it's called.
Ted's log flume. Yeah.
Andre Bloch's log flume.
Oh, that doesn't sound right. That sounds terrible. Yeah.
It's actually Gilbert's log flume, but anyways.
It could be. Ooh, what does Nick Young get at Ted's Dominion?
He doesn't get anything.
No?
No.
Swaggy Peas
No.
what?
He didn't play long enough here. He didn't.
It's a good name for a ride,
It would
though.
have to be a Swaggy P. JaVale McGee production. It would have to be both of them. You can't do one or the other. You got to include both of them.
I kind of want to go to this. I want to see what they come up with. I'd like to see it.
You got to do something with good morning, good afternoon, good night with Walton. You got to do
agree.
something. Is that like a restaurant? Changes breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Oh, that's good.
Is that good?
Yeah, breakfast, lunch, and
That's
dinner.
the most basic one we've come up with.
I like that one. I do like that one. Yeah, I do like Craig's biscuits in baskets. And his beer, Joe.
Beer locker.
Yeah.
Beer locker.
His beer locker.
That's what you have to call it. That's what you call it.
Wow, we're full of ideas here.
We're apparently going to get $0 whenever this land pops up.
Anyway, my read today is different than yesterday. Yesterday, I'm like, they just shot something across the bow and said, you're not getting this. What are you going to do? And now after hearing a couple senators say, give me something,
right,
they're going to sweeten the pot. I mean, if Ted thinks he's going to bully his way into it, what they're saying is you're not. And they actually control the decision whether to say yes or no to it. And the truth is, this is what I said yesterday, or even when it came out, they have a split government right now. Nothing's easy.
Yeah, right.
No one ever wants to give anybody a win. So you got to give me a win to give you the win. And Ted's going to have to give them a win. The question is, what do they want? I'm with you. I wish it would be about traffic or be about something that actually matters, but it won't be. It's going to be something they can go back to their constituents and say, yeah, I voted yes, but look what I got. And I don't know what that is, but it's something.
There was a tweet I saw from someone. His name is Patrick Hedger. He is the executive director of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance. Bear with me here for a second.
All right. He must be a barrel of laughs.
He's a sitting member of Congress.
Okay.
And Monumental has their verified Twitter account called Monumental Opportunity that loves to spit facts at you all day long about why this is a good idea.
Right.
I'll just say it, leave it at that.
And he's going to debunk that. Yeah.
Basically, they said, sometimes change can be good. A new arena and an entertainment district in Potomac Yard will create, in all capital letters, a new stable tax base in Alexandria that will be invested into transportation improvements, affordable housing, and better schools. Mm-hmm. He, quote, retweeted that with, it literally redirects the tax revenue back to paying off the stadium over 40 years. Alexandria's economy is already fueled by federal spending. The tax base is as stable as it gets. Go away.
Oh.
That's what a sitting member of Congress said about them moving there. So
nobody understands how this works. They know this, that nobody understands how this works. And because nobody understands how this works, they can say things like this that are pretty much not true.
Right. Correct.
And my take on it is, and not knowing where it comes from, and I'm glad someone who's an expert in this would say this, my opinion of it was this, and this is what I would ask Ted Leonsis himself if he gave me the opportunity. You have mentioned that the paying back of the bonds would come in the form of fees for walking on the land you own and going to your games.
Right.
So what does that mean? Project out to me what it costs to go to one of your games.
Correct.
Because I'm going to go with, we're paying the freight. Now, are we paying, am I more for not making the taxpayer pay for it and make the customer pay for it? Yes, I am. I think that's a better sell to me just in general. That said, as someone who'd like to be a paying customer, how gouged am I going to be to make this happen on your behalf? Mm-hmm. How gouged am I going to be? Because this is for your behalf. Let's not get this messed up here. I appreciate you're doing this. I understand why you're doing this. I'm all for it, actually. But it is for your benefit, not really for mine. And maybe you'll build something I enjoy going to, sure, and maybe you won't, frankly. Right. Because the Virginia Tech campus part of it, I don't care about. The bars better be pretty cool.
Well,
and the restaurants better be pretty cool. Otherwise, I don't
I
don't
won't have
care.
Time to go to this.
No, of course not. It's going to take me 3 hours to get to the game.
That's what I'm getting at here. It could be the coolest game day experience ever.
It's going to take me an hour and a half to get up the escalator if I took the metro, is what they've told me.
That's right.
So, you could build something that turned out to be a destination. You might not. You might just build a new stadium that's got a cooler surrounding around it. Regardless, it's to benefit to you. So I'm paying the freight to benefit you because it adds your value to your teams. And it's don't try to fool me into believing anything different. It's fine. I'm a junkie and I like your teams and I'll go to your games. How much is it going to cost? That's what I want to know. And that's what I think is going to happen here is the cost of admission to get into a Caps or a Wizards game is going to go exponentially up, or concessions or merchandise is going to go exponentially up to do what you're saying it's going to do, pay back these bonds. Well, I'm already sitting at the point going, it's really pricey. If I wanted to go tonight to that Avalanche game with my wife and 2 kids and pay to go, I'm looking at $600 min.
Right.
4 tickets, food, parking, metro, whatever it is.
Whatever it is, yep.
Whatever it is, that's what I'm looking at just to go to your game. Is it going to be higher than that? Right. And how much higher than that is it going to be? Because I'm already at the point of someone, and I got first world problems. It's not like I couldn't afford to do it. I'm just balking at it. Right. And there's a lot of people that just literally cannot afford to do that. Now what's it going to be, $750?
Right.
What are we talking about now to do this? And it benefits you, okay? I understand you think and you're trying to sell me that it benefits the region. It benefits the sports teams. That's what it benefits. Yeah. You and your bottom line and your investors. And I'm all for you doing it, and I'll go, but I want to know what the price is.
You also have gone on that entire rant and not even touched on both teams are diminishing returns right now.
They are, but I'd like to think that all that is cyclical and that like all it takes is if the ping pong ball went the other way and they got Wembanyama, we might be thinking very differently about the Wizards today.
But it didn't.
Right?
But
it didn't.
We're staring down the same franchise that we've stared down for a while.
Who knows? Maybe this Ryan Leonard guy is the next it thing. Like who knows?
Maybe.
Right? Like,
maybe.
Who knows?
But all I'm getting at here though is you're about to leave a literal generation of the Caps behind by the time you get into this place.
Yeah.
And you're about to have a Wizards team that it remains to be seen whether they can be contenders or not under your ownership. Once again, that's a bigger problem. But what all the things you're saying is what I'm getting at here. More expensive, harder to get to, and the teams won't be as good as I keep pointing to. The Redskins moving to Landover, it wasn't really about FedEx Field as the team started sucking and people started to complain about all of those things about FedEx Field. Like, that was the worst part about it. It really wasn't about FedEx. It was about not only did you have to schlep out there, you had to then watch a subpar product every Sunday, and that's where the complaining really started.
This has been the hardest thing, and I just don't think he personally or his team have done a very good job explaining all of it.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
They've kind of brushed off genuine concerns.
Yep.
Right? And that's a mistake.
Right.
But embrace it.
And played the victim, too.
Played the victim, which is utterly ridiculous. No one wants to hear that.
Right.
No, there is no billionaire that's going to be victimized here. Correct. Like, no one.
Your building's also not falling apart. It's actually a great game day experience.
This isn't FedEx Field where people are like, I can't wait to get out of this.
Yes.
We want to see what our next home is. Even if it's next door, we want to see what our next home is. It's just time to do that. No one complains about Capital One Arena.
No.
No one.
It's still a great venue.
Like, I don't sit here and pretend like, it's the best stadium to go see a hockey or a basketball game, but it's not bad. I have no general complaint about any of it, and I actually think that they've done a good job updating it through the years.
Correct.
Like, I don't have a problem with it.
And you and I both know, because of like what I keep touching on, is I would much rather just keep upgrading it and keep it where it's at, where everyone can get to really easily, and Metro there, or hang out there. And you can't hang out as much anymore, but you know what I mean. Like, I'd rather deal with a little bit of an older arena because the location is so good in the middle of the city.
But I mean, on the part about the teams aren't very good right now, I find that stuff to be cyclical, and I wouldn't base my decision making on whether this should go through or not on the state of their play in this very moment. I think that stuff can change very quickly. I mean, it takes Kevin Durant saying he wants to play here all of a sudden to turn this franchise around. Ryan Leonard might be really good. This Russian guy that they drafted who had cancer a couple of years ago might end up being really you don't know. Like, you don't know. So I think that stuff is cyclical. And, as long as the teams are not actively not trying, like in baseball, you can see this happen. The A's were actively not trying to win.
Yeah.
I think the Orioles for a while, it happened that they drafted really well, and this GM was able to beat everything that was working against him, which is what makes him maybe the all-time executive ever, because everything was literally working against him to build a team that could be good, and he built a team that might be unbeatable, despite it, which is really remarkable. In hockey and basketball, boy, it takes a lot because of a cap to really put yourself in a position where you're not really trying.
Sure.
And that's why I feel like in both cases, if you just land on the right people and manage it relatively correctly, you can be very competitive, if not more than that. So I don't think Ted is asleep at the wheel with that. I know the Wizards haven't performed very well, but it's not for a lack of effort. They may have made some bad decisions and they've had a little bit of bad luck, but it's not for a lack of effort. Like, he does pay his guys. It's not like he doesn't. He paid Beal. He shouldn't have.
To a fault, yeah.
To a fault. He paid Otto. He shouldn't have. He paid Wall. Like, it's not like he hasn't tried. I would have a bigger problem if these guys reach this moment in these contracts where they need to be paid a certain amount and he just moves on from them.
Sure.
And then you're going, he's not really trying here. He has tried. So I don't think that he's a delinquent owner in any way. And that's why I think that stuff is cyclical. Yes, right now saying, please give me a new arena when you've got 9-42 basketball going on down there is a little bit of a tough sell.
Yes.
But I'm going to be willing to be open-minded to all it's going to take is one really good player showing up here one way or the other, and then all of a sudden we're the 32-15 basketball. You know what I mean?
All I'm saying is it seems like a miscalculation. You could have done this earlier, and you could have had Ovechkin in your back pocket, prime Ovechkin in your back pocket. You could have had Beal and Wall in your back pocket when you started this thing, and everyone's going to go, this sucks, but I still want to go see those guys. Like, you just don't have those types of cards in your hands.
He's not unlike Dan, except that he's more eloquent and more available.
Sure.
In these moments, he's not very good because he's very defensive. He brushes things off that are legitimate concerns, and then he acts like he's being victimized because someone said, I don't like what you're doing, and he took it offensively.
Right.
And in the meantime, we're like, I'm sorry, I know you're living the life you're living, but you're not living our lives. You can try to relate to us, but it's not relatable, especially when you say my feelings are hurt when I try to move teams out of a city.
Right, when you wave the flag so hard for the city, too. I mean,
right.
That's the other part of it. I think that's where everyone kind of backfired on him.
Ted, you're a sports owner. Like, you think you're immune to criticism? You're a target for it.
Right.
If you haven't figured that part out, like, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think you're in the wrong business. You clearly are extremely successful at it. But if part of this is I want everyone to love me, boy, you picked the wrong thing to do that with.
Yep.
Especially when you have 9-42 basketball going on.
Right.
Like, people are going to point to you and say you're the problem. And I don't know how that doesn't, whatever. All right. I do want to read this piece that on Kuzma, who explained reasons why he wanted to stay here.
Yep.
Which I thought was very interesting. We'll do that next. Brave Watch the Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. I wanted to go through this piece that Josh Robbins had for The Athletic, which is about Kyle Kuzma, which is now starting to hit the NBA bloodstreams a little bit, and he's getting ripped for wanting to stay with the Wizards and not wanting to go to Dallas because Dallas could win and, at least could compete for an NBA championship this year, and the Wizards clearly will not. And he signed a 4-year deal with the team. All at a price point that was always like he could move at any point in time.
Correct, yeah.
But this piece details how close it was that he was being sent to Dallas and that it did not happen at the deadline. Michael Winger apparently told Kuzma to him, we have a framework of a trade. And he told Kuzma, the Wizards were not like, we're definitively going to do this, but we're going to ask you, do you want to go?
Yeah.
So they laid it out in front of him. And he said this, there was a point in time, Dallas, they definitely wanted me. Winger presented me with what the trade was and obviously didn't want to trade me and kind of left the decision up to me a little bit and asked me what I wanted to do. And I told him I wanted to stay and continue to build something, and that was kind of the end of it. Now, I think he doesn't have a no-trade clause. So if Winger was like, listen, man, we got something we cannot turn down here. The Mavericks offered us something we feel like is incredible value. We're just trading you, but we're being upfront with you. I think that's a possibility. But I find this actually amazing, forward-thinking, modern, and it shows a level of trust that I think this new front office is trying to build with this team to say, listen, like, you're not all movable parts to us. Like, we know where we are. We know we're at the beginning of this process, but you're part of what we're thinking about. We got offered something for you. We're going to get offered things for you. We don't love it. Yeah, but if you don't want to be here and you don't want to be part of this now because we're 9-42 and it's not going to be much better than that for a while, I get it, and we'll accommodate you. But we actually kind of don't want to do this. And Kuzma said, fine, don't trade me.
Yep.
All of which makes me love Kuzma more and actually really makes me like Winger and go, you know what? Like, this is rare. Or maybe it's not as rare as I think it is, but it sounds rare to me. Most of this stuff's very cutthroat. All those, Poole and Kuzma and Gafford for sure, and Tyus Jones, we're all sitting there at the deadline. Any of them could be moved.
Yeah.
If not all of them.
Yeah.
Any of them could be. And he's at least going, you know what? Like, we're going to at least have an open conversation with you guys about this. And I actually appreciate that they did it.
I legitimately wonder, pulling Kuzma back, what the total package was going to be, because they got a first-round pick for Gafford. So what else was Dallas offering, or did Dallas need Gafford so badly that they were going, we'll still give you a first here? Like,
you remember a couple weeks back when the Mavericks name circulated hard for Kuzma, it was thrown out there that they wanted 2 first-round picks, and that's probably what they did not get put in front of.
Right, but then remember it was a first and change, which if you had traded Kuzma and Gafford, could you have gotten 2 first-round picks out of them? I'm not sure. Or Winger might have said, we'll happily send you Gafford for a first-round pick because that one actually wows him.
Yes.
Like, Gafford is as good as he's been. He's not like some elite center. Like,
no, he's not. And he is not looked at as a cornerstone player.
Right, correct.
There's one person that I've been saying this for a couple of years now. It's not Beal, it's Kuzma.
Yeah.
Kuzma's your guy. I am not delusional to think that this guy is a top 5 NBA. He's not. But he's a winner on a winning team. You can see it. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Like, you can just tell. And, like, that's why I've been very reluctant and not as flippant with other people. Like, I don't think you just get rid of him. But I do, I appreciate that they went to him and said, do you want to be part of this anymore? You know, like,
Right.
I know you signed with us, but it's pretty bad, right? Do you want to be part of this anymore? I think if they got the right thing for Tyus Jones, they would have traded him because his contract's coming up, and he's not a pillar player. And the other one's Poole, who I don't think has a long-term future here. But because of the way this first half of the season went, there's probably not a lot of value.
There's zero fire for him.
Not real value. Like, because think about this for a second. That wasn't on First Take every day, where Stephen A's going, who's going to get him?
That's right.
He's clearly available. Who's going to get him? They never spoke about him.
They just
because
made fun of him.
Correct.
Those are the only times he was on First Take.
What's going to have to happen with Poole in the second half of the season and into the summer is a heart-to-heart, come-to-Jesus talk, which is going to be like, here's the deal. Like, you are, for lack of a better way of putting this, stuck here unless you get your game turned around. If you get your game turned around, people are going to come and want to get you and put you on a championship team. But if you don't, they're not going to take you seriously. So they'll take you off our hands for a nothing pick, which we're not going to do. And you need to understand that. So it's going to be incumbent on him to become more of a professional player again.
Yeah, of course.
It's the only way with him.
It was apparent in preseason what was going on with him.
But in this case, this validates how I felt about Kuzma all along. They don't necessarily want to get rid of him. They don't necessarily view him as a moving part. They look at him and say, we think you could be part of the solution. Now, when is that solution coming? And he's 28. So the clock's ticking on him. So we'll have to see.
Right.
This is what Winger said to Josh Robbins on yesterday. Kyle's an important player for us and a significant contributor to our developing culture. His commitment is necessary for us to achieve our competitive and environmental objectives. Under the circumstances, I wanted to check in with his belief to continue leading us. He reemphasized his desire to forge ahead, and we're honored to have him. Like, this is actually what I wanted Adam Peters to do with John Allen. Dan Quinn, too. Go up to him and be like, look, we heard what you said about rebuilds. I don't know what we're calling it a recalibration. As you know, things can flip very fast here.
Right.
But we were 4-13. You were extremely frustrated. Can I promise you a Super Bowl next year? I can't, right?
Right.
So let's talk. And what do you want to be? Do you want to be part of this? Do you not want to be part of it? Let's talk about it. It sounds like John turned a corner, too, when they spoke. Because he did that event with 980 and JFK.
Yeah.
It sounds like he at least made it publicly sound like I was frustrated. I'm not frustrated anymore. I appreciate this. This is what I said about go to them. Talk to them. We're pros. This doesn't need to be hidden. And I believe this. And every time I watch the Wizards, he's the guy I watch and I go, that guy's a winner.
Right.
Like, I know he's not on a winning team right now, but he is. I felt like 2 years ago, I'm like, Beal's not your number one. He is. He's your best player. He's your clutch player at the end of games. He's the guy that doesn't complain. Mm-hmm. He's the one that plays defense every once in a while. Like, that's the guy. He's not a great elevated tier one player, but he's a really good player on a winning team. And I think this is a good sign that he actually wanted to be here. Now, I'm not going to go so far as to say the turnaround's coming quickly. They don't have a roster for that at all. Like, am I excited about Bilal? A little bit. You know, like clearly it's coming on. It seems like they're right about him. What's his level? I don't know. Denny's gotten better. Mm-hmm. He has. He's gotten better. His offense is way better than it was a couple years ago, and he's turning into what seems to be a valuable part of what they're building. Kuzma seems to me to be a valuable part of what they're building. They're a ways away because they just don't have the type of tier one game-changing players that I think make them competitive. But this was a really good sign. And, you know, and I know some people are going to dump on him and be like, he's just, you know, collected his checks and doesn't care about wins. I don't know.
Well, also,
I don't know about that.
Flip it over to the other side, though. This isn't like the 1 seed was asking to trade for him. The Mavericks are an 8th.
So he had a quote about that.
Yeah.
He had a quote about that, and this is the one that's really getting the play, and I think it's going to end up on First Take tomorrow because he said this, right? So he said, asked by Robbins or David Aldridge or Ben, I assume Josh Robbins because it says asked by The Athletic. He goes, why he told Michael Winger he wanted to stay with the Wizards instead of joining the Mavericks, which, oh, by the way, I don't know if you've looked at the standings. Like, they got a shot, and they got an MVP candidate on their team. I mean, come on. He said this. In my career, I won a championship. So I understand that when we play this game of basketball, it's not about contending for a playoff spot. It's about contending for an NBA championship. There's only like 3 or 4 contenders, true contenders. I just felt like our timelines didn't line up.
Yeah.
He's saying the Mavericks aren't one of those teams.
They're in 8th place. They're in the play-in right now. They're having to fight to stay in that 8th spot at this point. I don't blame him here.
But he doesn't feel like if he joined them that it would be that much of a difference for them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he's getting at.
Okay.
They'd have to play the Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves are first.
They're 8 games over 500. They're 1 game back of the 5 spot.
Okay.
I mean, they're kind of right there.
He's also
like they're kind of not right there. And the 1 seed right now is Minnesota, who's never won nothing. The 2 seed's Oklahoma City, which feels very ahead of the curve, and I'll be very interested to see them in the playoffs because it's finally come to fruition, this young team that they put together. Very interested to see it. Denver, obviously returning champ. Clippers have a Hall of Fame team, albeit 2016 Hall of Fame. But they got a Hall of Fame team running out there. And, I mean, Phoenix, who knows? If those guys are all healthy, they seem like a machine. So I'll hear what he's saying. But he is basically looking at them going, even if I go there, it doesn't make them that much better.
Right. Because he's also saying I'm definitively the 3rd option at all time. Like at most he's the 3rd option. And what would point to you saying that Kyrie Irving's going to be a stable number 2 there? Because he could lose his mind in the offseason, and then Kuzma's stuck there, and he's not going to win anything again. So I see the argument here.
I did find it because that's the one that's making the play now. Because all of a sudden people are going, he just basically said even if he went to the Mavericks, they can't win.
Well,
I don't know that he's wrong.
I don't think I think it's.
But it is to stay. He's going to get hit because people are going, but you're on a 9-42 team.
Right.
How is this not better than what you're in right now?
What he's getting at, though, is if it was like, let's say the Nuggets wanted him, that's a definitive, puts the Nuggets way over the top all of a sudden because they have like too many options, right?
Agreed.
I think what he's saying is if I go to the Mavericks, we'll still be really good, but we're not head and shoulders above anyone still. I think that's what he's getting at there. He's kind of like, why would I move somewhere where I like playing here and go there, and I don't even have a definitive shot to win a championship?
Listen, I'm happy he's still here. Like, I mean, I know he's going to get knocked for this, but I mean, like selfishly, I mean, almost every other player would be like, just get me out of here.
Right,
he's not doing that, and he's not European and likes just the city landscape. I love it.
Is that Davis Bertans or is that Chris Tapps?
This is my favorite dude, Kuzma. That jersey I bought Archer might last more than a couple of years.
Which one did you get him?
Kuzma.
No. Which style?
I don't even remember. It was one of the ones they don't wear anymore.
Cherry Blossom?
No, it was
the old school Wizards one, the
retro-y,
okay,
but it's kind of not retro-y, and it isn't the best. But
those are the best,
I guess. Well, but I want the old school.
Oh, you want bullets? You're not. You're never getting those.
Yeah, I can get him an Elvin Hayes one.
Where are you gonna find that?
eBay.
Yeah.
By the way, I tried to get one of those Dun Kings suits. Sold out in minutes.
Go look up Darren Ravel. He got one, and
of
they
course
look ridiculous as you think.
I want it for Halloween. I mean, but now I think about it, I'm like, is it too far away?
No one would have even remembered what that was.
That was the best Super Bowl commercial, in my opinion.
That
was the best one.
There's also an extended version.
Because that was Ben Affleck, Matt Damon,
Brady,
J-Lo, Brady.
Yep.
Brady playing along with it. Matt Damon not playing along with it. J-Lo with the look of, this is the worst thing I've ever seen you do in my life. And Ben Affleck pulling off the worst frontman act of all time. Great, terrific concept, great execution, wonderful commercial, and I want one of those tracksuits.
Only because you're talking about merch. The beginnings of the MLB people freaking out started today because the Fanatics contract really kicked in.
Not good?
Not good at all.
Not good?
They messed up, like they've changed the template of the jerseys. Nike basically licensed out their logo, and then Fanatics handles the manufacturing of everything.
Not good.
I think it was the Cardinals had like their first, I don't know if they reported for spring training or you could start reporting down there unofficially. And the jerseys came out and the players like audibly were
the birds are blue?
No. The players were audibly like, what are these?
Oh.
Because the quality is.
Oh, no.
Like literal players were like, what are we doing here?
Oh, no. Well, at least they're saying that now. In February, we could maybe try to fix that.
You're not going to fix that.
Oh, well.
Do you know how many massive you have to order?
Just asking. Just asking questions.
And then they said the fan versions, oh boy, get ready for that.
Really bad?
More expensive and way less quality.
All right, let me take a quick break. I had a chance to catch up with Chris Paul, the Commanders guard, and you'll be surprised what we talked about. That's next. Bram Weinstein Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. I'm going to save Chris Paul for a little bit because for the live version of this, we don't got enough time to do it.
That's right.
I yammered too much about Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's revisit one other thing. Kyle Shanahan's decision to take the ball first in the overtime of the Super Bowl, which in any other year is a no-brainer decision because the rules hadn't changed.
Right.
The rules did. Actually off of the Mahomes-Allen Classic of a few years ago, where they scored like 4 times in the last 2 minutes, including 13 seconds left.
That's right.
That sent it to overtime, and then the Chiefs got the ball first, and they won, and everyone thought that was just a terrible ending, to which I said at the time, guys, it has to end at some point. Like, you could go on forever here.
Yeah. My whole point on that one was the quick retort of, in today's modern NFL, if both teams are scoring like that,
give them both a chance.
They each have a chance, and then you end it after the one chance. Then it becomes a game.
But like you do realize, like, okay, let's just say both teams scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. By getting the ball third, San Francisco could then kick a field goal. And would that feel okay to you? How would that feel okay? See, someone else is going to, next one's going to be, well, then they should get another chance. Because they got the ball first. Fortunately, this didn't happen. There's no controversy of it, but that's my point on this is, where does it end?
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Where does it end?
I'm with you. I do.
I am all for the don't just let them kick a field goal to win it.
Yes.
That doesn't feel right.
Correct.
Okay? Which is the rule that has changed here. But had they both scored a touchdown, the Niners would be in the position of, if we just kick a field goal, we win now.
Right.
And I think that would have been not satisfactory to some people.
But then it would have been, well, thank God they took the ball then. Like, you get
correct.
You get the decision on that point. So
after the game, a number of the players on the 49ers admitted they didn't know the rules.
Correct.
That they had changed.
Same with Tony Romo.
I had a long text conversation with someone about this. They were yelling at me for coming too hard at Romo about that.
No.
And I went, it's the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
It is the largest.
You got 2 weeks to prepare for it too. And they had called.
How do you not know the rules?
They called playoff games too. How did that not come up?
They didn't have an overtime game.
No, still. You prepare for the games though. You know how this works. You prepare for the scenarios that might not ever happen.
Listen, I personally don't think it's okay not to know the rules.
That's right.
I bet you I've messed up at some point with one of them somewhere along the way.
Sure.
But like in the Super Bowl,
right? And for 2 weeks to prepare, like,
well, because he was outwardly saying, if Juwan Jennings scores here, the game's over. It's not. It's not. And I'm like, it's the largest audience. How could you tell 150 million people the wrong information
probably
at that
more,
point?
But yeah.
Well, that's not even the worldwide audience.
Yeah.
We're talking about. I'm sorry. Like,
no,
it's
sure.
just it's not defensible. And I've been defending Tony for 2 years since all this started. I'm like, I think you guys are coming at him a little too hard. This year, I kind of saw it a little bit. I've been swayed. And then the Super Bowl, I'm sorry, he stepped on Nance so bad at the end of the game. It was the last call was terrible.
Yeah. Right.
Not Nance's fault.
Right,
it's just he would not shut up.
Yep.
They just won the Super Bowl. Shut up.
Yep.
And then him not knowing the rules, I'll come at him for that. That's ridiculous
After
not
they
to know what the
flashed him
rules
on the
are.
screen, by the way, like.
The referee went on and said it. They played the coin toss.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the 49ers said they didn't know the rules. Some of them didn't know the rules.
Yep.
We're surprised by it. The Chiefs said, Chris Jones came out and said, we talked about it in the preseason.
Right.
That if we get there, this happens. This, by the way, is what it is.
They said not only the preseason, that Andy Reid would go over it the night before every one of their playoff games.
One of the magical things about Belichick through the years, I know when everybody complains about him, no one knew the rule book better than him.
Yep.
And
That's
he gamed it up so many times where he did things where people had to talk about, do we need to change a rule for this?
Yeah.
Like the running clock thing.
Yeah, the running clock one where he's almost it's the happiest we've ever seen him on a field where he's basically about to crack up because he knows he had a loophole.
There was one where they had to change a substitution rule because he was messing with people and got them into a bad thing and they couldn't substitute off of like fakes or something. Like it was some kind of weird substitution rule that he had gamed up. Nobody knew the rule book better. So Kyle Shanahan yesterday had to defend himself.
Yes.
Because everyone's saying, why would you take the ball first here? My opinion is they had just been on defense. They had just seen Kansas City walk down the field. I actually didn't in real time think it was the wrong move, but I understand like where people were coming from. But I actually think just based on what had just happened in the game, I was actually okay with them taking the ball first. This is what he said. It's something we talked about. None of us have a ton of experience with it, but we went through all the analytics and we talked to those guys, and we just thought it would be better. We wanted the ball third. If both teams matched and scored, we wanted to be the ones who had a chance to go win. Got the field goal, so we knew we had to hold them to a field goal, and if we did, it was in our hands after that. I don't have an issue with that reasoning.
Neither do I. Not one bit.
I really don't. Again, yes, if they go down and score a touchdown, all the pressure's on the Chiefs. And to his point, if they give up a touchdown, the game's in their hands and it's only them to blame if they don't end up winning it. Because they kick a field goal, now they quote unquote look stupid, but I don't think so. And I think people are totally discounting that their defense saw a 2-minute drill go down the field and the Chiefs score to tie the game. You would have put the defense right back out there again with all the momentum on Kansas City's side. And then what if they go down and score a touchdown? Now it's all on Purdy and your offense. You have to tie it. And you're going to give the ball back to them even if you do that. Yeah. I actually don't think he made the wrong decision here. I didn't think so at the time. I know the result is the result, so it makes him look stupid. I really don't. I think he's gotten criticized way too harshly for that.
No, I agree.
Way too harshly.
No, I agree. And I also said this, like, you didn't want Purdy to have to match. And
no,
essentially what he did there, too, you're by his logic, he's saying, we're only giving Mahomes the ball one time. We have to stop him one time. And they didn't. And
That's
they
right.
didn't. But like,
and listen, if we don't score, that's on us. We're losing either way.
Yes.
He goes, I'm asking my defense to stop the guy once. Like, right, by this logic, if they get the ball second and they happen to tie the game, Mahomes can put them in field goal range. Their kicker's already kicked 2 50-plus yard field goals in the game.
That's right. Exactly.
He, by the way, is falling into Justin Tucker categories now.
Yep, exactly.
He's got one of the biggest legs. He's not missing. He had a 57-yard field goal in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right.
That's something.
Yes.
So I don't know. Like, more and more, I'm kind of like, I don't get why everybody came at this guy so hard. I didn't really think in real time the decision was bad. And if you really, really think about it, and I think people came at him because the 49ers were like, we didn't know the rules, which that sounded bad.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when, like I said, I keep saying this, and we just said it about Romo. You had 2 weeks to prepare. I just don't understand how you don't.
Romo's got no excuse.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
None of them do. But like, Romo really is. I don't want to hear it. Don't come at me. Oh, you're too hard on him. What are you talking about? He's calling the Super Bowl. He doesn't know the overtime rules.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Come on.
I'll say this too. I think it was the producer for Carlin and Joe had a really good point on Shanahan that, like, if you go look at his trajectory, you go look at Andy Reid's trajectory, they're like almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
That like the basis of a Super Bowl winning coach is here. He needs to get over the hump one time, and it's going to come for him. Also, it helps that Reid has an elite quarterback now.
Yeah.
But he was like, go back and look. Andy Reid made it to a bunch of NFC championships with the Eagles.
Yeah.
Made it to one Super Bowl. They lost because they lost to Brady, made their own mistakes in that one. And Shanahan, same thing, has now lost 2, but he's lost them to this team, right?
Yeah.
He's lost to the Chiefs. And that he's like, 38, I think Shanahan is. And if you go look at Andy Reid, it's almost the years are a little bit off, but they're basically saying, like, don't be killing Shanahan this bad because he's one of those guys. You fire, every other team is lining up to hire him again tomorrow because they know that if he can just get you there, then all of a sudden you have a chance to win a Super Bowl.
Oh, I'm not firing him. I think he's got a long career ahead of him.
Right. But you're having the Niners fans lose their minds a little bit of like, I don't know if this guy can do it. Like, you're getting that sect of the fan base being loud.
I think that they're losing. They've lost now twice to the best quarterback maybe ever.
Yeah. Right.
And I think if you don't see that and don't understand that, then I mean it's kind of unfair.
Right. They also that defense held together after they lost Greenlaw to the Achilles thing. Like, which by the way, is the most underrated thing talked about. He got hurt jumping onto the field.
Terrible bad luck. He's probably going to be out for next year.
Yes, exactly. It's an
terrible
Achilles.
bad luck. Well, don't tell Aaron Rodgers that, but
right. But still,
he'll be in OTAs.
It was like the most underrated thing to talk about. That he was off the field and they held it together. Like
on that point about whether he's Andy Reid or not, I got a couple of other examples that I'll get to next. Bram Weinstein Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. So you had mentioned Kyle Shanahan could be the next Andy Reid if he just hangs in there.
Yep.
He's lost big now. He was an assistant on the biggest blown lead in Super Bowl history. Now has lost 2 Super Bowls to the same team. Mm-hmm. Got unlucky last year with Brock Purdy getting hurt in the NFC Championship game, or who knows?
Right.
Who knows?
Also, worth mentioning that biggest comeback was against the other greatest quarterback in the world.
Right.
I mean, it was against Tom Brady. It wasn't nobody.
Correct. And I agree with you. I think that like he clearly knows what he's doing. He has a very good team. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about Purdy. I think more than most people seem to want to like downplay him like he stinks for some reason. I don't feel that way at all about him. I think he's being downplayed in a way that I don't totally understand, but whatever. Like he's not Mahomes.
Right. Sure.
But he could be really good too. You open your mind to that. You can open your mind to that. And, let's see what the future is. I saw some people say, look, like their coaching staff's been raided the last few years. Now their front office has been raided.
Sure.
That it's going to be hard to maintain this. And they do have a lot of high-priced players on their team. And so the window's now until they either have to pay Purdy or pay a quarterback. And, Trent Williams isn't getting any younger, and they've already paid a bunch of guys. It has to happen now, or else it's going to be a reset, and then we'll have to see what happens. But I agree that there's possibility for him in the short term and long term if he sticks with it and doesn't get too down about being this close and not getting it, which I don't think he will. I mean, his dad went through it forever, too.
Right.
But I thought of 2 names, too, that he falls into a category of. They're a little older than Andy Reid. One is Marv Levy. Marv Levy was actually a special teams coach on the Redskins team that lost to Miami, the undefeated Miami team back in the Super Bowl in the early 70s. And then, of course, lost 4 straight Super Bowls, and he never got back again after that. But that name he feels like he falls into that category now with me. And the other one is Dan Reeves. Dan Reeves was the head coach with Elway's early years, and he lost 3 Super Bowls with him, with John Elway as his quarterback. Lost 3 Super Bowls and then lost 1 with Atlanta to Elway.
Yeah,
so those are the 2 that kind of come up to me. Andy Reid is the one who's had the great amount of success, never won the big one, to hitting the jackpot with this quarterback and being as well as being a great coach, and now kind of reaping all the rewards of having been through it, gotten through it, and winning these games. He very easily could have lost the other day. Very easily.
Reed is 65 years old.
Yeah. He said he's coming back too. So all those rumors are off the table.
65 years old, but he got his first year of head coaching with the Eagles was 99. So that means he was 40.
Yeah.
Relatively young. Yeah. Even back then, actually, was relatively young. Shanahan is 44 years old.
Yes.
He's been a head coach for 8 seasons. So, like,
the results speak for themselves.
Right.
I mean, I know if you're disappointed in it, but, like, this isn't – if you're moving on from him, you're an idiot.
Right. Yes, correct. Exactly. But here's the other thing, too.
10 teams would fire their coach to hire him.
Correct. With Reed, too, by the way, he gets to take more credit than, Belichick gets to take credit for Brady, because Andy Reid actually should get even more credit because he drafted Mahomes and kept him on the bench for a year. Like, the only other team to do that is the Packers the last 2 go-arounds with Rodgers and with Love. There's no one else that has drafted a quarterback in the first round and said, we're not going to use him. We're going to continue going with our guy, Alex Smith at the time. Yeah. And he gets to take all the credit in the world because he gets to go, I helped develop this guy for his first year of his career. And then we threw him in there, and he was amazing, essentially.
He was amazing. On the 49ers, too, Trent Williams apparently said today he is coming back.
Okay.
So he's going to play.
Isn't he a free agent after this year? I thought he was.
I got to look up what his situation is, but he says he intends to come back. I'll have to look. And then there's Brandon Ayuk is going to be on a 5th-year contract.
Option.
And his girlfriend went on IG and said things like, this could be the last time we're here and all that type of stuff. So he's saying, pay me now or it's going to be a problem.
Jesus.
And they've already paid Debo, McCaffrey, Trent, Fred Warner, Bosa, Hargrave. It's going to be hard. I do agree, though, he will be a prominent free agent if that actually happens. I have a feeling they're just going to make him play on the 5th-year option if they can't get a deal done with him. That's what I think.
Williams has 2-3 more years, but I guess it does say there's a potential out here now. So I don't know if they'll actually do that. But
what's the out?
It just says potential out for 2024. would be $29 million in dead cap this year.
$29 million? Why would they do that? Why would they just keep him?
I don't know.
I think the window's still wide open for them. I saw Nick Wagner, who covers them, write a whole, have they missed the window? And I look at them and I go, why would you even think that?
Right. Yeah.
Bosa's still young. McCaffrey looks fine. Trent Williams apparently is coming back.
Right.
I think you can run it back with Purdy. I don't know why people complain about
Purdy
him.
has the literal lowest quarterback salary in the league.
Kittle looks fine.
Yeah.
Debo just signed. Fred Warner's. What are you talking about?
Yeah, the window's nowhere close to being closed. In fact,
not at all. I think you're a couple of years away from their cap being, until they have to either pay Purdy or pay a quarterback, they're actually in very good shape.
In fact, though, they've done this a few other times, though, where they've traded guys away because they have too many players. They constantly reopen the window by kind of getting better players in there anyways.
The only way the window gets really tight on them right now is if they go get Kirk Cousins because we think it's an upgrade and we're going to pay him $50 million a year, and then they have to make some decisions, and then they have to make some decisions.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
But I don't think that they're going to do that.
Neither do I.
Do they think they'd be significantly better with Kirk Cousins over Brock Purdy and pay him $50 million more to do it?
Right.
No way.
It's not, the trade-off isn't there, yeah.
No way. I don't think so. I also saw Travis Kelce said he's not retiring.
Yep.
Said he's coming back.
Yep.
So that throws a wrench into my plans of Amazon hires the two brothers in the podcast and then make them a very featured thing of the Amazon.
That's right.
His brother did do, this came out, a bunch of interviews with the television networks.
Okay.
So
that makes sense, though.
He spoke to ESPN, he spoke to Fox, he spoke to Amazon that they know of.
Okay. There you go.
So I feel like that's kind of a packagey thing, but maybe not. Could he end up on Amazon and they do? I feel like someone's going to buy that podcast and make it exclusive. And I think Amazon feels like the perfect place to do it, because if they buy that and make it exclusive to Amazon and then put him either on the desk on Thursday night or in the booth. And I did find it interesting. Ryan Fitzpatrick apparently is interviewing for assistant coaching jobs all of the sudden.
Oh, okay.
Gee, I wonder why. Do you need, how many white bearded guys are you going to have on the set? It screamed to me, Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce to Amazon is almost too obvious to me. It's too obvious.
The other thing is, I look at that set, and I've actually thought the most underwhelming person on that set is Whitworth. I think he, I'm not saying he's a bad human being,
he's fine.
But yeah, he doesn't bring. For an offensive lineman.
I don't love Richard Sherman's takes. I always find him to be a bit off.
Yeah,
but whatever.
I will say he's opinionated, though. Sometimes you just need that, whereas Whitworth is about as basic as it gets. And
I find his to be half-baked, though, sometimes.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I agree. Yeah, I'd agree
I think Fitzpatrick's pretty good on it, but after seeing that where he's now interviewing for these spots, he might be trying to get ahead of. They might be making some changes. Yeah. Tony Gonzalez is fine. Been doing it a very long time. Whitworth is not memorable. I agree.
Yeah, and it's just
not memorable.
He's what hoodie and blazer are you going to wear this week, pal?
Yeah,
right. That's his
But
shtick.
I think Kelce to that, Amazon wanting new heights screams to me. Someone's going to want exclusivity with that.
Yeah.
They're going to pay him a lot of money for it. Amazon would be the ones to do it, especially if they hire Jason to be on the desk or in the booth.
Right.
I don't think we know what's going to happen with Herb Street.
No, that's true. I think with Kelce's interesting. From a pure, if they're not doing the podcast thing with him, I don't know if he's going to translate on a desk / the booth. If you listen to the podcast, he's very entertaining at times. There are also times, though, where he's very pedestrian in how he speaks and how he enunciates and all of that. But I also bet you, I know what this is for him, just because I've listened to him enough times. His wife doesn't want him to play anymore. She was saying that last year. If you watch the Kelce documentary,
he doesn't need to.
Right, and
that New Heights podcast is doing very, very, very well, and he will get a TV job one way or the other.
Right. If you watch the documentary, you could tell she did not want him to come back this year because one, they've got I think 3 or 4 kids, and you know how this goes. When you're old and you're a lineman, it's like getting out of bed is a whole set of actions and taping up and taking painkillers and all of that.
That tush push thing is all him too.
Correct, and
he's the one that takes the.
He's the one that says and he's the one that says he screams every time he does it because it's
F my life.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I think with him, he's trying to say, I want the same salary as what I'll play for the Eagles for, bare minimum, and then a little bit more because I want to be home with my family too. And I bet you he'll get it. He'll get it because these TV deals are ridiculous now. So
yeah, I think he will. All right, there's one other thing I want to talk about, which goes back to overtime for a minute. They have a clock. The clock doesn't mean anything. In this particular case, it was confusing.
Yes.
Because it was running down.
Yeah. I agree, actually.
And there were a lot of people going, what happens if they don't get the playoffs?
Same.
And I had to go, it doesn't mean anything. And they were like, what do you mean? And I go, think of it as the end of the first quarter.
Right.
And they were like,
Nance chimed in and was like, if it runs out, it's just, it
don't worry about
over.
Right. The Chiefs don't lose their
But it
chance.
took them till like 4 minutes were left. I mean.
Right. Because, once it got under a minute, all these people were like, oh my God, what if they don't score? What if they don't score? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, they have to finish their possession. And they were like, well, what happens? And I go, I actually don't know that part. I don't know if they flip sides of the field or what.
Right.
Like, because the clock will run out. I don't know. But just think of it as the end of the first quarter. I don't know if they do that. Of which I would just say this. What is the point of having a clock run down if it doesn't really matter? It actually should be inverted. The clock should be moving up. How long it took to end the game is really the stat that would matter now. So in reality, the longest ever Super Bowl is this particular game because it took 14 minutes and 53 seconds or whatever it was for them to score what was the game-winning touchdown.
Right.
The clock should just go up. Not down.
I agree.
The clock doesn't even matter. In fact,
it
doesn't matter anymore. It's actually just a statistical marker that makes no difference.
When they score,
Correct. But when I was watching it, I, like everybody else, I saw all these people looking around going, if the clock runs out, what happens? And it was just a confusing part of it because nothing happens.
Yeah, right. It just
so
kicks
what's
over
the
to
point of the
quarter.
clock? What's the point of the clock if nothing happens?
I guess it is.
It doesn't matter.
I guess it is a documentation, though, of double overtime. So that I mean, I know it's cynical.
I guess, but it isn't even that. They haven't even had their first possession yet.
No, I know.
So it's not even.
I know, but it's still. I think it's. I'm kind of with this because the NHL does the same thing.
Well, in college football, they start you at the 25. There's no clock.
Right.
There's just.
Sure, but
there's no clock.
They still document those overtimes, though.
They document it, but there's no clock running. They run the plays from the 25. You either score or you don't.
Yeah, right.
In the case of the NFL, I would think about that. Get the clock out of there or use it as we've been playing for X amount of time on the clock. And you can use it as a marker, but it doesn't matter because it was confusing. Everybody in my house was confused by it.
Right.
There were people wondering if this clock runs out, what happens? Do they just lose?
Do they lose?
Do they lose?
Right, exactly.
And that was confusing. And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, do they go to the other side of the field? And I go, I actually don't know that.
Right, yeah.
I'm not sure what they're going to do if the clock runs out. They're going to keep going.
Yes.
They're not going to lose.
Yeah, duh.
Right. So there was that. Hassan Reddick says today he did not request a trade. I think they want him to get a trade, though, I guess. So that's what it is now. We've told you to get a trade.
They're trying to do the thing where they have too many players now, and they're trying to get some draft capital back. That's what's happening.
Right, but their defense was actually not very good last year, and I don't know who are they replacing him with exactly.
That's a great question, but they've tried to reset it a little bit more. That's
like Fletcher Cox. Is he going to be back with them? I doubt it. They have Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis.
Yeah,
and he's old. Okay, well, if he does come back, it's going to be on a nothing deal just to play, right? Okay, that makes sense. Who are their edge rushers if it's not him?
They must just be doing the old, we got to get something for him now because we're not going to pay him the edge rusher contract. It's got to be what it is.
He's getting around $20 million.
Right.
So it's a decent number.
Right.
He's one of the sneakiest players, I think, in the NFL.
Maybe.
I don't think he gets the credit for what he does week in, week out. But he is a disruptive player, but nobody talks about him that way.
Yeah.
So we'll see. So I guess they just want to move off of him. Maybe he was one of the problems.
Maybe. I think that needs to be floated out there, bare minimum. I mean,
well, and the big one is going to be, are they going to trade A.J. Brown? Because everyone is aware that he was a problem last year.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're not trading Jalen Hurts. So are they going to trade A.J. Brown? And I'm going to go with no.
Right.
Because unlike what the Titans learned, you don't replace somebody of that caliber. He's a top 5 receiver.
That's right.
Why would you trade him?
Yep.
You're not going to get anybody better than him. But maybe we're seeing the signs of why Tennessee was so apt to probably think about it, because typically these things are repetitive processes. He probably was chirping a lot. And that's probably why they ended up not signing him. He was probably chirping a lot, but it was a mistake because they had nobody even remotely close to his talent level.
Not only that, Vrabel was still pissed when they did it, and that makes me think Vrabel knew what was going on with him and was able to control it pretty well.
high-tier talent you keep in the building and you figure it out with them.
Right. Like the one thing
this is what Pittsburgh did for years with Antonio Brown until the end when they're like, we just can't do this anymore.
Right.
But they kept it under wraps. Think about that. How long he played there. They kept it under wraps. What, you think he went crazy after he left? No. It was happening while he was there. Yeah. But he was so good, they were like, we're going to handle it. There's nobody better than him. We're not going to find anybody better than him. He's a game-changing player. We'll put up with it.
It tells you how good he was, too, because the dude was going on Instagram live in the locker room.
In the locker room.
And Tomlin didn't cut him.
The one that I'll never understand is Tyreek. I'll never get that.
That one, I think they knew they could get a crap ton of draft capital.
They did.
And survive.
But he also is ridiculous.
Sure, but they won a Super Bowl without him. Two actually without him. So I think they knew what they were doing in that one.
Yeah, well, they ended up being right about it. But they're going to have to go get a receiver in the offseason. I think that's clear.
Speaking of the 2 in a row, have you already seen the Pat Riley talk?
Oh, because he owns 3 P.
He owns 3 P.
So he's dying for this.
Yeah, he's like biggest Chiefs fan in the world because if they win, that's his trademark and he gets all the money, or not all of it, but a chunk of the money.
If they use it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
They have to use it. Yeah. They have to use 3-peat. What if they just come up with something else?
Florio was dumb. He put 2 in his Pro Football Talk article, and one of them was it Chief Pete? No, it was
Chief Pete.
It was like 3 Chief or something. That was one of them, and he had another one that he threw out there. So he's like, the NFL could probably get around it, but
yeah, they'll call it something else.
Right.
As long as it's not literally that word.
Right. But he can sell it, I guess. He can make Chiefs colored shirts that say 3-peat on it.
I suppose. He can't use their logo.
No, of course not.
Like that.
Well, dude, we just live in a day and age, though, where you can make all the stuff without the logo on it.
Pat Riley's in the parking lot
selling
knockoff Chief shirts.
Hawking Chief shirts. That'd be amazing.
Be great. All right, you're going to hear from Chris Paul, Commanders guard, next. Bram Washington Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, so last week while I was in Vegas for Radio Row, I had a chance to catch up with Commanders guard Chris Paul, who was there for a very, very different reason, and here was that conversation. What a weird place to meet up with one of the Commanders' offensive linemen here in the middle of Las Vegas. Chris Paul is here. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. So I learned this about you. I think the world learned this about you at the NFL Honors, that you're not just an offensive lineman, you're a singer. You're part of the NFL Players Choir. You had a solo last night at the awards. What was the experience like?
Yeah, well, it was such an awesome experience. Just one, to get to do that type of performance, kind of honoring our fallen soldiers and league family, but also just to showcase my talent and be at such a huge event that is kind of commemorates the amazing experience that is being in this league.
So what drew you to join the NFL Players Choir?
I was actually sort of recruited in a way, and I was familiar with the Players Choir, but not necessarily how you get in or how you perform with them. But they reached out to my agent, and he kind of texted me and was like, hey, is this something you might be interested in? I was like, absolutely.
So you've been singing a long time, I assume? It's been a passion of yours?
Yes, I probably came out the womb singing. So, yeah, for sure.
What in like church? Where else? Like, is that kind of the roots of it?
Yeah, I would say church, and also in terms of like extracurricular activities in school, so middle and high school.
Yeah. So, did the team know about it? They must have known, right? Like, did the guys in the locker room know that you sang?
The first time the guys in the locker room knew that I could sing, enjoy singing, was during my rookie skit. So
you surprised them with it?
I did surprise them. My rookie skit was a bit unorthodox because I took it a step further, and I also taught them about music theory as well.
Oh, all right. So, what can you share? What did you do for your rookie skit for the Commanders?
For my rookie skit, so I started off by talking to them about the different keys you can sing a song in. So I gave them 3 different examples of keys and how each different key was for a different type of mood. So like higher, lower, what's better for your voice range. And so they definitely booed me off the stage until I started blowing. But, I don't really think they appreciated it. But it's fine, you know.
They didn't want a lesson.
They didn't want a lesson, and you know, there's nothing I can do about that. It's their loss.
And then you started singing, and it was
like thank you for doing what we asked you to come up here to do. Like get off the stage.
Yeah.
But,
all right. Who else can sing in the Commanders locker room? Are you the only one, or is there someone else?
I mean, there's tons of guys, I would say, that just enjoy music overall. How about that?
Yeah. Okay. So you saw the Eagles do a annual album, right? Have you seen that? Can we get the Commanders to do a competing annual album?
You know, I would absolutely love to do that, and I would definitely be the guy to put that together. Yeah.
Who sings for Jordan Mailata, right? Isn't he? He's got the voice too, right?
I mean, all those guys. I mean, Jordan Mailata's gotten all of them involved, so I love to see it. I love to see it. I really do.
It's really cool. So this isn't just a hobby, though, right? You're actually recording music. You're going to put music out. Like, why don't you tell people about what you're putting together?
Yes, I would say it's a big hobby, probably like the thing I like to do the most outside of my sport. And so definitely working on some projects this off season, and getting ready to announce the release of a single.
Okay. And what's the genre? What kind of music do you sing?
Great question. So I would say predominantly alternative pop and R&B.
Oh, okay. You know, most of the guys in the locker room are rappers, so you've gone your own way here for sure.
It's a very, I won't say unique lane, but it's definitely not the type of music you would expect from me.
Okay, so alternative R&B, like which artist should I be thinking of?
Yeah, so when you think of alternative R&B, think of like your SZAs, your Solanges, your Lucky Days, your Giveons, your Frank Oceans. Those,
okay.
Yeah.
So there's got these roots of R&B, but almost very pop-esque attached to it. SZA, I think, is amazing. She was incredible at the Grammys. She's amazing.
Yeah. Yes, I would just say very like what you would consider like creative, artistic, abstract.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, let me ask you a little football. You had a chance to meet Adam Peters, right? Like recently, you were down at the Senior Bowl. Why were you down at the Senior Bowl?
My brother, Patrick Paul, was at the Senior Bowl, and was at the University of Houston. He's going through the draft.
Yeah. Does he expect to be drafted?
Yes, he will be drafted.
Is he going to go to the Commanders?
It's a 1 in 32% chance. So, let's make it happen.
All right, so you had a chance to meet with Adam Peters, though. What are your general impressions of the new general manager of the team?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, he is just so awesome, and it was great to meet him. And, I mean, we talked about everything and even his process and kind of moving into the D.C. area. And so it was great connecting with him on that personal level as well.
Yep. Okay, and Dan Quinn, what was your general reaction to hearing about Dan Quinn being hired as the head coach?
I'm so excited, and he has so many positive attributes and elements that players boast about him as well. So I'm excited.
You know, what's really amazing about him, every person we ask who played for him, they love him. You know, like, and I that's got to mean something, right? You got to want to play for your coaches, don't you?
It means something. That's probably as a coach, I would think that's the highest honor you could receive, is to have that kind of reputation from your players.
Yep. Okay, and Cliff Kingsbury, it's going to be a very different offense in here for sure. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to talk to him yet or not. What do you make of that hiring as they rethink the offense here?
I'm excited. I'm anticipating. I'm expectant of what's to come for our offense.
Yeah. Okay. How about you personally? Your low-round pick came in, fought your way into the lineup. You were rotating this year. How do you kind of think back about your first couple of years, and this last year specifically where you were starting and you weren't starting? How do you think about everything?
I think there's just so much opportunity for growth, and that's what I love the most about this league. I've had opportunities to compete since the day that I was drafted. So I just look forward to building upon year by year what I've built on the previous year.
Yep. How do you think about change, too? I mean, I know you're excited about everybody, but with change, there's a lot of uncertainty. How are you kind of thinking about your future here?
Yes, change. There's definitely a lot of uncertainty, and so it's definitely important to understand that there is no comfort in any of these situations, and it's kind of like reinforces that drive in you day in and day out to show up to work and get ready to get better.
For you, I know for skill position players, they think about an offense that works for them. As an offensive lineman, do you think about scheme and the way something's going to be run and what may accentuate your skill set?
Yes, all the time. And that's definitely necessary at this league and at this level. We play a very technical position, so you have to know what's going on defensively. You got to know what's going on within your own scheme to be able to expect the different type of situations and scenarios you're being.
Yep. All right. I don't want to dwell on last year. It was a tough one. Now that you're a little bit away from it, you've had a few weeks to kind of think about what's happened here. How would you describe what happened? It was. I don't think anybody thought you guys would have the record that you had this year.
Yes, this was a year, and we had the year that we had, and I think, to put it in perspective, this past year in studying games, specifically for me, studying games is a great opportunity to learn from everything that happened this year and to take it into this next year, not only as fuel, but as like key examples of where and how we can elevate our game.
Yeah. And when you talk to your teammates, are they mad? Are they just frustrated? Are they like you thinking, all right, it's just a learning experience? How's everybody kind of feeling about what occurred this year?
I mean, there was, I would say, nobody was pleased with the results, and as anybody wouldn't be in that situation. And so I think in those situations, as we acknowledge the dissatisfaction and as we acknowledge our feelings, channeling that in the right direction and using that as a way to get better.
Yeah. I think the biggest surprise was, I think we all know how much talent is there. Terry, Jahan, Kurt, B-Rob, all those guys on the defensive line. I think that's what was really surprising, because no one looked at it and said, well, this team just isn't very good. It just felt like its expectations weren't met.
Yeah, I would say expectations were not met. And we have such a talented team, and it really is a blessing to be surrounded by the team and all those guys that are just special and unique in their own way. So I just look forward to the future and using our strengths and figuring out a way to be the dominant team that we should be.
All right, last one on the Commanders, and this is a hard question too, and it's always uncomfortable because it's a teammate, and I think everybody really likes Sam Howell, but considering where the team is drafting, obviously they have options here. How are you thinking about the quarterback position and who maybe your teammate might be a young rookie quarterback starting next year?
I mean, we don't know what that situation will be. And regardless of the quarterback situation at the helm, I trust that our leaders in charge will make the great decision is what's best for the team, and it's been an honor to play with everyone I've played with so far. Okay,
all right, last thing. I asked you what type of music you're doing. What is your music about? What are the lyrics that speak to you? What's your message in music?
I would say I probably have a very diverse messaging in music. There's songs that I've created that I actually don't relate to at all, and my mind was kind of on autopilot in terms of writing it, and that's a thing. There's songs that I might write. I remember I've written a song that was about a dream I had that I was estranged from one of my brothers, and I met him like a Kroger, like a grocery store, and I couldn't remember exactly who he was or whatever, and it finally clicked, oh shoot, that's my brother, just super random, right?
Yeah.
But the way the song was written, if you don't know the context, you would think that it's like some type of love song or something, right? And it's not the case. So there's situations like that, and then there's songs that I write that are like super meaningful or have like a definitive underlying theme.
Yeah, so you want like deep meaning, not surface, no diss tracks.
No diss tracks, but I'd say there's a balance. Like, it's really important to me to have those like songs with substance, but then it's also okay to just have a fun song.
Yeah. All right, so you want to be a starting guard and a hit maker, right? All of it in one?
All of it in one, man. Multi-dimensional. That's what we want to showcase. There's a lot under the helmet.
Chris, it was a pleasure catching up with you here in Vegas. Congratulations on the choir, and I look forward to seeing you at OTAs this year.
Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you too.
All right, that was Chris Paul when I was out in Vegas. Another piece of coaching news: Ryan Kerrigan's staying.
Yep, saw that.
Thought that was good news.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, listen, the guy's a legend here. Things they took to him really well. There were guys like Chase Montez were leaning on him a lot. So, you know, I think because of his experience, because of the numbers he posted, the respect was in the room.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm glad he's back. I'm waiting to see what happens with the rest of the D-line coaching staff because we haven't heard anything about Jeff Scanina, who does have a relationship with Dan Quinn. So I don't know whether that's going to continue or not. But I thought this was a really good, and I like the role they put him in. Linebacker / rush end, which was kind of really what
specialist, I think, is what it was. Yeah. Rush end specialist.
Yeah, and that was his specialty here. So I was glad to see him back. He's a great character, a great person. So I'm glad he's back. You know, you don't have to get rid of everybody. So it was nice to see that he's back.
No, I think you carry over greats if they're on the staff, especially if they can still contribute. It's like, why not have a little bit of continuity? And look, Kerrigan has always been a flag carrier for the franchise. It's not the worst thing in the world to have him around. It's not unlike kind of like Doug. You know, Doug has said some things, but Doug has done player personnel, then moved into the alumni part of things. But like, you keep guys like that are good people and good football people around. I think Kerrigan is that person. I don't think you let him walk out of the building.
One final little Super Bowl thing. You'll recall earlier in the offseason, Les Snead, who's the GM of the Rams, unprompted, like went into a you need to hire Raheem Morris like thing.
Yes.
Right? Remember, like went on and on, like it's time for him to get a job. And I think that helped a little bit, you know, like, and he did. He was a serious candidate here. And he obviously got the Falcons job. Here's the second time this has happened with a coach. And this one wasn't part of the cycle, but maybe will be after what happened this fall. I think Steve Spagnuolo is actually the MVP of the Chiefs playoff run this year. Nothing against Mahomes, who's obviously incredible, but their run defensively against specifically Baltimore and San Francisco the last couple of weeks was really incredible. I mean, just everything was well-timed. It was perfectly done. And the defense is the reason why they won this year. Their offense was not nearly as prolific as it had been in the past. Anyway, Kevin Demoff, who's the COO of the Rams, somebody did something about, did a tweet like, I don't get why he's not part of the cycle around to get a second chance because he had a bad run with the Rams.
With the Rams, yeah.
Kevin Demoff of the Rams, basically head of the organization, wrote this. I was hired after Spags was hired, and our owner became the controlling owner 20 months after he was hired. So this isn't the own that you think it is, which was somebody writing something about like how Spags was bad at his job.
Yeah, right.
He goes, he inherited an awful situation, did the best he could do to make it better. We became a better organization with him as our head coach. Somebody should hire him.
Okay.
So he didn't make the rounds like some of the others, but off of what happened this past January, I don't know how someone won't look at him again. So I think he's a possibility of a name that's going to pop up because the results speak for themselves. They won because of their defense this year.
Yes.
And that was among maybe the greatest Super Bowl runs of anybody, having won in Baltimore, in Buffalo, against a prolific Miami team, then beating San Francisco. They got no easy ways out here. They did most of it on the road, and it was their defense that did it.
Right. I would say it depends what he wants because I do think some of these older guys. How old is Spagnuolo?
He's comfortable where he is, maybe. It's possible.
I have him pulled up here. He is 64. He
might be comfortable where he is.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what?
I think this happens now.
It's not bad coaching on a team that's got that quarterback.
Right. Exactly.
Because if we don't have our fastball, well,
we
got the guy who's going to hit a grand slam.
He's going, I just need to keep games close, actually.
That's right. Right.
Like, I just need to keep us in a
keep
possession.
everything right. No one's going to be like, again, like everyone's going to give the MVP to Mahomes. It should have gone to Spagnuolo after what happened this January.
Right.
But like he's sitting there going, we have a bad day. I got this guy over here who's just got to, just give him an opportunity.
Yeah.
He'll cover up for everything that we have wrong here.
He also was full NFC East, right? Outside of the Rams. Like he was Eagles, then Giants. Then got hired by the Rams. Then I think he was
Giants defensive coordinator when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. So it's almost like I could see him as just going, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah,
I know what I'm doing here. I like this at my age as well. It was funny, too. Like, I think it was the Ravens game. There were players in the locker room wearing Steve Spagnuolo, like, rap shirts that had all these pictures of him that said, like, Spags on it or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, when guys love you like that, too, I think you probably stick around there. And
listen, that's what we're hearing about Quinn. The guys treat him like that. Think of him that way.
Yeah.
So we'll get Dan Quinn rap shirts, maybe.
No, I don't think so about that. Not yet. We can't do that yet.
Backwards hat?
Backwards hat's fine. I'll roll with that for now. But let's slow the roll. Let's have them give us a reason to print the rap shirts up.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Bram, watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.